Welcome back for another interview on history of our gaming together. Today we have Mech, which is Jimmy. I didn't put your name up there, but it's okay. Everybody knows Jimmy. He's where we get a lot of our sound effects for the opening of our TikTok videos.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, our history in gaming is wrapped up in a lot of things, and mainly due to our friendship, which is you'll get to hear in a little bit how our friendship got started, which is funny. Which is a lot like most of my friendships, but so how we met was I was in a band in high school, and we had a lot of recognition. There was a lot of stuff that went on in that band, and a lot of people knew us. And I graduated high school, and I graduated in a high school away from my hometown, which is where the band was based out of. And I went through a series of things and ended up moving back to my hometown and literally had nowhere to live. I was just walking around, crashing on different couches and stuff. And I went to the high school where I was not supposed to be, just hanging out as a graduate, hanging out with high school kids while they're at school. This is pretty dumb. But while I was in the high school, I had a couple of people that come up to me and they were like, "Hey, I remember you. You're from that band." Yeah. They said, "Hey, we've got an apartment. You need to come crash there. Just come hang out with us." And I had nowhere to go. Was just looking for different couches to crash on. And so I went to this apartment. And Jimmy, would you like to explain the environment of this apartment?
Oh, man. Man, it was like if a bunch of high school kids were trying to create a frat house.
That's the perfect description.
Yeah, just, a bunch of buddies got together, kind of didn't want to, whether it was rough childhood homes or, just, we had a tight little clique, and we all said, you know what, let's all get together and kind of get our own place going. And that's next thing you know, we have an apartment, and it was it was a revolving door of people coming in and out. And it was, sometimes you'd walk in there and there's liable to be 20 people inside that apartment, just hanging out, chilling, sitting on counters because there's nowhere else to sit. People sprawled out all over the floor. It was just it was kind of almost everybody was welcome. We didn't turn anybody away.
Yeah, which is probably why I was invited. It was an in and out thing. Depending on when you were there was who you would see, and it was quite a crazy time, which is not too far from. Well, we'll hit that in a little bit. So, there were so many people that were in and out of that apartment. It's kind of hard to say like who you would make friends with, and like it's crazy because it was a 2-bedroom apartment, tiny little thing, but you would hang out with different people and you might not hang out with other people. And there was one fateful night where we all wanted to go down to this lake and kind of camp out. And that's where me and Jimmy's, our friendship really didn't start that night because there was a hatred. And like I said, with most of my friendships, most of the people that I end up being the closest to hate me in the beginning because I am not learned yet. People have to figure out who I am and why I do the things I do. And I'm sure Jimmy's side of this story is much different than mine. So do you want to tell about the night you started hating me?
Give your side first and let me go in and fill in the blanks.
Okay.
From my side. It'd be way funner that way.
Okay. So of course, here I am. I'm this I'm this dude. I had, and of course, if you're on this channel, you're watching this on the YouTube, you know that I have a musical background. I just said I was in a band. I was not too far past the failed Universal Records record deal that we had lost due to the fact most of our band just quit and said we had better things to do. So I went through this little dark period. Other things had happened, and I'm this dark dude living in a comical shell, and which just the way I am, period. I'm kind of annoying. I mean, I would say that I'm annoying until you get to know me, because I'm always prodding and pushing for a smile, always pushing for a laugh. And anyway, so here's this group of people. There's already, like, we're down at this what's rumored to be, the legend says it's a bottomless lake, and crazy things happen out there. We're camping. There's already been a can of corn exploded in the fire. Somebody just threw a can of corn in the fire and it blew up. There's crazy things happening. Jimmy is there, and Jimmy drives a Pontiac Fiero. It's a 2-seater car, if you're not familiar. And so, and I think
I had the only car.
Yeah, I was about to say, you were the only one with the car, and you were like transporting people out there from the apartment. So we're out there. We've got Jimmy's Fiero, and Jimmy gets stuck. The Fiero, it's a very low sitting car, and he gets stuck. He's kind of bottomed out. So years later, I feel like we can make this kind of public information. Slightly down the road a little ways is a fenced in area that contains a forklift. So, a couple of people go down and get the forklift, knock the gate down, and come down to get the car out of the mud. And so get down there, get the forklift under the car, and start to lift up, and breaks the side skirt of the Fiero. And of course, in my brain, I had a truck that had some side skirts, and I broke mine before. I'm going through the stuff and like how pissed off I was when my side skirts got broke over a stupid thing. And like, I'm remembering this stuff and just the situation that we're in, like the saying, you have to laugh to keep from crying type of thing. Like, yes. There's me doing all this dark shit in my brain, and then this just comes along and it's just getting worse, and I'm trying my hardest to find a laugh somewhere. So I'm doing little jokes and laughing, and which Jimmy is in the situation I was in where my side skirt was broken on my truck, and so he's in the anger stage, and here I am laughing over on the edge, trying to lighten the mood, and it's not working. So Jimmy has a view of me where I'm not taking anything serious, and I'm laughing at his failure, and which is a lot of what I am. I try to make people laugh so that they don't think about the bad stuff, but the way it comes across is I'm just a dick, honestly.
But you got to realize what put us in this situation is we had another good buddy who was staying at the apartment with us, and he was having lady troubles. Him and his girlfriend were having some relationship troubles. So we get down there, the Fiero gets stuck, but hey, we're going to be camping out. We'd already been having fun. It was no big deal. Remember, because we were kind of we were going camping to help this guy kind of have a night off. Let's just go. And then he gets a phone call from his girlfriend, and she wants to talk. So now everything stops. Everything has to end right there. And we've got to try and get the Fiero out just so I could take this guy back to town so he can go argue with his girlfriend. And so I was already not in a good mood because of that, because, you know, old country boy, you know, we'll leave it stuck overnight. We'll camp. We'll get up the next morning. Even if we have to walk out and find somebody to come pull us out, it's no big deal. But all this fiasco that ended up damaging my car all started on the premise of a buddy just needing to go talk to his girlfriend. And the whole reason we were out there was to help this guy, you know, have a night off. Just kind of, hey, the dudes, we're going to go out, we're going to camp, we're going to have a good time. So I was already a little on edge. And then, you know, we're sitting there, car's broke, I'm mad, I'm fuming, everybody knows I'm fuming, and I look over here and here's Gary just kind of trying to, hey, blah, 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 just kind of be a funny guy trying to lighten the mood. But I was at that point in my life where he wasn't going to lighten this mood. You know, I was fuming. I was so mad, you know.
I'm not even sure I was aware of that story. But I can guess. Was it Matt?
Oh, it was. Oh, it was. Granted, to say they worked their problems out, and him and this woman are now successfully and happily married, and have a family and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, maybe my side skirt was the price that had to be paid for them to have a happy marriage. I don't know, but I wasn't particularly thrilled about it.
Yeah. So that's where the friendship started. We'll just say the friendship started. So, and with all the antics, also I'll point back to in the documentary that's on this channel about paranormal stuff. This apartment is also mentioned in some of the antics that we did through there. But gaming, the gaming history with Jimmy started in this apartment with a game that I like with Ross. Just a game that stands out, I think, is a little obscure because I've never heard anybody talk about it but us. And that's Dark Cloud.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you got into it before I did. What got you into that?
What got me into it was when you grow up poor and you don't, like, I was lucky enough, you know, my parents were super cool. You know, they would work their tails off and they provided me and got me a PlayStation. And I had this PlayStation, you know, I was so excited about it and all this kind of stuff. And then we ended up over at the apartment and all that kind of stuff. And, but I had gotten games for it. You know, my parents were trying to get me games, but, you know, with money being so tight growing up that when you walked in there, there's, you know, the top shelf of games at Walmart that were the new high-end games, and then down at the bottom shelf were these nobody games that people hardly ever heard of that, you know, just weren't super popular, weren't the greatest things, but they were normally half the price of the other games. So I ended up with a lot of these lower, I'm not going to say lower budget because it was a fun game, but, you know, these less heard of games that, you know, I wasn't going to have the ability to get to play the more high-end stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up with this game.
So news to me, the PlayStation at the apartment and the lake house coming up, that was yours?
Yes.
Oh,
yep, that was mine.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So Dark Cloud, if you don't know about it, go look it up, check it out. We won't get too much into the history of that game, but it's a grinding game. And again, this is an apartment full of teenagers, high schoolers, and vagabond graduates. You don't have internet. You don't look up things. You just play and you find things. And so again, also as in with the history with Ross, there was no memory card.
No.
And so before Dark Cloud and no memory card, that PlayStation played a Mudvayne album nonstop throughout the house. And then Dark Cloud came along, and with the no memory card thing, you work so hard on something, and then you have to start it all over. It's very disheartening. So I would venture to say, over the course of months, the PlayStation was never turned off. And we would play during the day, and like anybody coming in with, man, like the environment of that apartment just rushed in my head. And I was like, good God. So people would come in, they'd sit around, they'd watch, because we've got our own thing going on over there. It's a different world. We're doing our stuff on Dark Cloud, and at nighttime, I believe Chris Marshall was the designated night shift guy, right?
A lot of times, yes.
Night shift, he would go through and grind for better weapons and all the good stuff, and just obliterate things, because we're grinding but not progressing, because we want everybody in the apartment to see the progress of things. So months of playing this game without turning the PlayStation off. It was quite an experience, which brings us to eventually, as Jimmy said, the couple that was in the earlier story, they had created a life. Things happened. Everybody was kind of deciding where their life wanted to go, and my mother-in-law at the time had a lake house, and nobody was living there. It was running down, and she had offered for us to go out there and take care of the joint and pay some rent. So a select few, most of them with their names starting with a J, moved out. Like the vast majority of that house, all their names started with a J. Also a 2-bedroom, tiny little house. Some things I can't say due to things that could come back and haunt us.
Right.
We moved to this little tiny lake house, and at this point, we had played all the Dark Cloud we wanted, and we switched games.